Hi everyone, welcome to Google Developers Live with Google Drive. My name's Ali and I'm joined here today with Junyong, and we're going to talk to you about an exciting feature we launched last week, and that's push notifications. So Junyong, if you could start by explaining what is a push notification. What is it?
Yeah, so push notification is a feature that sends push notification for any changes in the API resources that user made. So for example, if you want to monitor any changes to a file, then you can tell Google to send notification for any changes in a specific file you want to monitor. And then if user makes any changes to that file, then Google will send you notification right away in real time. Yeah, it's a great feature.
So that's really cool. So before we had push notifications, what would an application have to do to realize that a file in their drive has changed?
So people used to poll, let's say every 15 minutes or so, and it takes up a lot of resources. And also, it is not really real time. So in the worst case, it'll take like 15 minutes to show up the updates, right? And with real time, not real time, this push notification, users don't have to, applications don't have to query any files or things that they want to monitor every time, like 15 minutes or so, and they will get the updates right away, which is really efficient.
How awesome. So what kind of things in Google Drive can a developer subscribe to? What is available to them?
So originally, this push notification was designed to monitor every API resources, but for now, it supports file and changes. So for file, you can monitor any specific file and changes, or if it is deleted or something like that. And also for changes, it basically just monitors any changes that users made to the folder.
Oh, that's fantastic. So I can just make a single request, subscribe, and then I'll get notifications when that changes.
Exactly, yes.
OK, great. So I see as part of our launch, Junyong, you wrote an application that takes you through and shows you, it's more like a playground that shows you how to do these push notifications. Can you show that to us? But first, maybe show us what extra steps or anything you need to do to set up your application.
Sure. So since push notifications sends a lot of sensitive data about users, it just sends any user activity on Drive. It has a lot of concerns about security, and there are additional verification steps you need to take before using this feature. So first, let's go to push notifications documentation. It's developers.google.com/drive/push. And you'll see that you need to register your domain first. So first, what you need to do is to go to Webmaster's Tools and verify your website. Verify that you are the owner of this website through this tool. You can basically click add a site and do some verification step, and your website will show up like this. And then when you're done with the verification step, you need to go to APIs console. And also, else than any other things that you have to do with Drive APIs, you need to do some special verification step called notification endpoints. It will be on the end, bottom of the API access menu. If you click edits on it, you can see a text box that you can put your domain into. So I want to verify that I'm the owner of this URL, and I want push notifications to be sent to this URL. And I'll have to put this into the text box and update. And from now on, I can send push notifications to this URL. And also, it is very important that you use HTTPS, SSL. Because, yeah, it should be encrypted, right?
So let's just say that again one more time. It's very important that you use
very important. Yes, you should use SSL.
OK, now, do we even support sending notifications to non-SSL endpoints?
No. If you even try that, you'll get 400. No, you're not using HTTPS.
So normally we don't try and do that and force you to use something because we think it's best for you. But in this case, like with all our APIs, you must use SSL.
Yeah, it is really important that users feel comfortable with their privacy. And then now that you're just set up with all the configuration of domains, then you'll have to go to just register your channels. You can do it by appending /watch to the resource you want to monitor. So if it is a file, then it can be file file ID / watch, or if you want to change watch the changes, then it'll be changes / watch.
Right.
So.
Or if you're using our client libraries, of course, those methods are built in, so you just select them. They're part of our generated client libraries. So it's a regular API method with a regular token, and you use that, and then the subscription is active.
It is.
So what does the request look like?
So there are 3 mandatory fields for this request. First is ID. This is the ID that you provide to Google Drive, and it should be unique. So you can use things like UUID, or anything that is unique that you feel comfortable with, like maybe database key, or And
wow, you got a perfectly consecutive UUID. It's amazing.
What a coincidence, isn't it? So, and also there's a type. For now, we only support webhook, so we're just sending notification to your URL. And well, there might be some like additional supports for other types. For now, anyways, so you should send webhook for type. And also, address is the endpoint of your notification. So we'll be sending notification to this address, which is again verified and again HTTPS. Now, else in these 3 mandatory parts, you can send token, which basically just like whenever Google is sending a notification, they will just echo your token. So you can just save any like temporary values that you need for this token, but you should make sure that this doesn't contain any like sensitive data, such as like OAuth token.
Right.
Or if you really need to do that, you should make sure you encrypted it. And also there is a parameter that you can set to like set the expiration date. By default, I'm not really sure about that, but it is like 2 hours or something. And I heard it will be like 2 weeks or so. But
so we're working on trying to increase the default length of time.
yes. So you might want to like increase the time to live, or so that you can like persistently keep the notification. And also, there's no means of automatically like resubscribing. So you should always keep track of this expiration time and make another request with another unique ID to keep getting the notification of whatever you want.
Okay. So in that case, just to sidetrack you, in that case, how if you got 2 notifications for the same resource, how would you disambiguate them? How would you make sure?
Sorry, like why would I get 2 notifications?
So say you subscribe to a new one before you unsubscribe from the old one.
All right, so actually in my sample app, I had those cases, and that is where I used token.
Right.
Yeah, so I saved some unique ID of the pages, or unique IDs for each request users made in the token, and saved it into token. And because token echoes that value exactly, I can like distinguish if it is like request from this user or that user, and you don't have to be like confused with that.
Okay, great.
Yeah, and okay, so once you made the requests, then you will get the response right away. So the responses for this request will be 200 if it was successful, and like 400 or anything else otherwise. And one thing that you really want to take note from this response is resource ID. So everything else in the response is basically echoing what you have provided, but resource ID and resource URL. So this resource ID is just the ID of the resource that is being watched, and it has totally no meaning for you. But you need this ID to unwatch from the channel. Okay. So you need to take note of this resource ID. And well, from now on, whenever you get any notifications, you will get resource ID anyways. So just keep track of it. You make sure you keep track of it. And then, as soon as you say send the watch request and it got successful, you will get a sync message. So sync message is the message from the API saying that, hey, your notification is successfully initialized, and now we're going to send notification.
So we send the sync notification to your notification endpoint.
Yeah.
So it's like a mini notification.
Yeah, it's a notification says notification started.
Okay.
But it is not recommended that you use this sync message because for many like unknown issues such as like network latency or anything like that, there might be the cases that actual messages are sent before sync message. So it's not a good idea to rely on this sync message to like say that the synchronization just started. You should just assume that notification started as soon as you got the successful like message from the request, and it's better to just ignore this sync message.
Okay.
Well, still you can make use of it if you really need it. And then since you get a sync message, you'll receive actual notification to the notification endpoint that you specified from the request. Now there are many informations that this notification provides, and depending on which notification you requested, such as it might be changes or files, the response might change a little bit. So let's talk about changes first. So if you make a request for push notification to changes, it will send notification whenever user makes any change to any files. So you know there is like a changes resource in API, right? And users before there was push notification, actually many applications keep sending changes list method to keep track of what kind of changes were made, and kept updating their like local like copy. And from now on, with this push notification, Google will send you whenever there's changes in the change resource. Will send the change resource ID and self-link so that you can visit it right away. And as a response body, you'll actually get the change resource, and you can parse it as just as what you have how you have parsed changes list or changes get, and you can see what kind of changes have been made to this drive by using changes.get, and yeah. It's just same as how you've interacted with changes.
Okay, but you don't have to poll our server anymore.
Yes.
So that's really exciting. That's really good for me. Okay, great. So that's how it works. There's more.
There's more, yeah. So we need to talk about how like file resources works. So whenever there's a notification about like changes in file resources, there will be a simple notification without body. So there will be no body or any like contents of the file, but it will tell you what happened to the file with resource state and changed header parameter. So for example, if the file was trashed in the resource state, it will tell you it is trashed or untrashed or deleted. And there might be the cases that resource state is changed. So that is the case when contents or parents or any actual metadata of the file has been changed. And then you'll get additional parameter, xgulk changed, which is another header parameter. And it will have like contents or properties specifying which part of the file metadata has been changed. So the way you parse the changed push notification and file push notification is quite different. And you can see what kind of resource state and change types there are in the documentation right away, like this. And yeah, that's pretty much it of how you're gonna like deal with push notifications.
Okay. So you spent a while writing an application just to show this off. So can we have a look at it?
Oh yeah, sure. So you can actually try all of these from push notification playground.
Excuse me.
It is push notification playground.asbot.com, and you'll come to this website right away. All you have to do is to log in and authorize with like OAuth 2, and you'll be brought to notification field. And now we can actually see the notifications going in and out. So if let's say we want to subscribe to all changes in Drive, and we are now subscribed, Then if you, let's say, create a file in this folder and it is successfully saved in this folder. Wait, maybe I did it too quickly. Yeah, well, as you see, you can see a lot of notifications that came to this this application, and not only for all changes in the folder, you can also specify the file you want to monitor, and you will also see all those like resource states or changed header parameters, and see how this push notification works in real time.
Can we have a look at some of those notifications?
Yeah, sure. So I subscribed to, hold on a second. I think I'll have to.
So do you want to monitor all the changes then?
Oh, here it is. Here's the file. Okay. So
we're just subscribing to a single file here.
We're subscribing to this file we just created, and we want to change content, which will show up as changed content, and we can also change the title, which is metadata. And then you'll see from here a lot of notifications.
Right, so let's just look at one or two. Can you zoom in on this?
I think so. Yes, you can.
Okay, awesome.
Now you can see
so
that.
Let's just pick one. Okay.
Yeah. So here you can see that the changed resource state is update, and changed parameter is properties. This is probably because I changed the title.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah, which is the metadata of the file, and yeah, like. Also, you can see here, it says update, and the changed parameter has content, because we like apparently changed the content of this file. And also, if we if we actually trash this file, then we'll get right away here, resource state has been trashed. So you can trash, untrash, delete, or anything you want, and you'll get any like notifications just right away.
That's really cool.
It is. And yeah, so we talked about how like we can subscribe to the like files and changes for now until now.
Okay.
And
of course,
now that we subscribe to it, we want to unsubscribe it to it too.
Right.
So basically, there are two ways to unsubscribe. First is to automatically unsubscribe by reaching the deadline of the notification expiration time, or you can also manually unsubscribe from the notification. So it is all so simple. No matter where you subscribe to, like files or changes, you'll come to this one channels.stop method. And as I said, you should keep note of this resource ID, right?
Right.
And this is with the ID that you provided, let's say like UUID, and the resource ID provided from the API request response. If you send these two parameters to channels.stop method, then it will like manually unsubscribe from the channel. Yep, that's pretty much it.
Okay, so awesome. So thank you very much, Junyoung. So what have we seen today? Well, we've got a new way of which your app can be notified of changes to stuff happening in a user's drive. No longer do you need to pull the changes feed regularly to see what's changed and then fetch the resources. We will tell you now. So why would this matter to you? Well, you're saving a huge amounts of resources, really. You don't have to make these regular requests. You're saving resources for yourself, and of course, you're saving resources for us as well. And that's always a good thing, because it's going to improve your latency. So saving resources, and it's a much more real-time notification system. So you will be notified much more quickly of the things that are changing. If you're polling, of course, as we always say, Drive is a massively distributed system. So a part of it could change, and then the effect of that change would filter down. Eventually, it might take a while. It might take 10 seconds. It might take a few minutes. But this is going to be much quicker, and it's going to be much more accurate. How do you register for these? Well, we send you a web request to a server that you've registered. You've verified that you own the server, and it's listening on an HTTPS socket. We will send you that request. You look at what's in there, and you can decide however you want to behave after that. We don't send sensitive information as such in there, but you will still need the user's token to fetch this information. but still best to secure it as well as possible, and we need to verify that we're sending them to the right place. We can't just send them anywhere. So that's push notifications. It's a feature we've been working on for a long time. We actually announced it at I/O this year and Google I/O the previous year that we were working on it, but it's here now. Please use it. We'd love your feedback on it. We'd love to know what could be improved, and if you're using it and you're having a good time with it, well, that's useful too. But mostly, any sticking points you have, any failure points, we're really keen right now to know what you're doing with it. Okay, so thank you very much. Thanks for joining us. Thank you, Junyoung, for taking us through and showing your awesome application. I see you've learned some CSS recently. or did you just...
Just Twitter Bootstrap.
Oh, it's Twitter Bootstrap. Oh, okay, well. Anyway, have a good day, everyone. Thanks for joining us. Bye-bye.
Thank you.